Gosh, thank you so much for having me here today. My name is Reverend Evelyn Foreman, and I want to start with gratitude today. Reverend Eileen found me. I don't know if I contacted her or she contacted me, but she found me, and I'm here by divine appointment, I believe. There are no accidents, right? So I'm going to tell you just a little bit about me before I get started because it helps to understand who's speaking with you. So many people have asked me, oh, where are you from? Where are you from? So I'm currently living in the Venice area, Nokomis, in Florida. And prior to that, I was living in Hawaii. So my husband and I actually met in Hawaii 2 decades ago. We found each other at Unity of Maui. So in so many ways, Unity has shaped me and changed my life, so much so that I'm here and I can't believe it. But I can believe it because that's how Spirit works, right? It directs us where it needs us to go, and so long as our heart is open, miracles unfold. We have 2 children. One of them was conceived while I was in ministerial school at the village. So that is another miracle for another time, another talk. But I'm just so grateful to find this campus, such a vibrant community, and the people that is in this community. I don't know you yet, but I feel you. I feel your heart, I feel your energy, I feel your openness. And I love it, because we need more souls to activate and awaken to that presence, right, that Christ consciousness. All right, so today's talk is going to be on peace. Let peace begin with me, which is a very interesting title to me because this is what our movement is about, us being peace, being the center of peace. So I'm going to start with sharing a story with you about Hiroo Onoda. I know, right? It's Japanese. Hiroo Onoda. I had to make a phonetic writing here so that I don't mispronounce his name. Hiroo was a Japanese intelligence officer during World War II. So he was stationed in the Philippines in 1944. And, the war was over in 1945. But he was sent in there with his troops, and his commanding officer said, no matter what, do not surrender. Hold your ground. So he obeyed. He stayed in the jungles of the Philippines for 30 years. Yeah, I know. Because he refused to surrender, because his commanding officer said, no matter what, hold your ground and don't surrender. So his story is very interesting, right? After the war was over, people looked for him. They sent messages, they sent messengers, and this whole time he thought it was propaganda. So slowly but surely, his troops, the people that were following him, either surrendered or they passed away. 30 years is quite a while to hold your ground and to be that committed to his cause. And then a Japanese student by the name of Norio Suzuki found Hiroo. I should probably call him Onoda, but I'm American, so I'm going to call everybody by their first name. So a Japanese student found him, and she tried to say, hey, the war's really over, and he still wouldn't budge. So they had to go and find his commanding officer 30 years later, looking for the commanding officer. And luckily, they found him. He was still alive. So they suited up the officer, and they went into the jungle together to find Hiroo. And they found him, and the commanding officer said, very respectfully, because this is the Japanese culture, And so it's like, the war is over. You've done a really great job, and you can now release your post. And then he released his post. But he was obedient to a T. So he only surrendered when that commanding officer went there to tell him face to face. How would you like to have a staff like that, right? They found him with a functioning rifle, and he was loyal through and through. He was yielded as a hero, a war hero in the Japanese culture. Okay, so what did the commanding officer say to him when he got there? He said, "Hiroo, the war is over. We could release and go home now. The war is over." So I thought, that story dropped into me sometime along my unity journey. It's such a beautiful story because I'm looking at it, of course, from a metaphysical, metaphorical standpoint, right? We relate to this story, and we often do this with ourselves when we relate to this story, that we keep going, thinking that the war is still going on, but the battle has already ended, and we don't give up our stance. We're fighting sometimes unnecessarily the inner conflicts that we have. This is to be human. Refusing to accept that peace is readily available. That's huge, right? This is to be human. So I love engaging with my audience, and I want you to play with me. This is a sandbox to me, right? Remember sandboxes when you were a child, and everyone just gets thrown in the sandbox, and you're playing, and you're building sandcastles, and making a big mess, but having a great time. So let's have a great time together. We're all in the sandbox because I know I come in this spacesuit, and I look like probably 20 or 12, but here's what I see. I see children amongst myself because I'm a child as well. And we get to play together in that highest, most noble self-essential nature that we are born to be. My prayer every day is, God, let me be the person God intended me to be. And so that's my prayer for everybody else, right? So we're in the sandbox, and let's play a little bit. We're going to do a call and response. This is probably one of my favorite affirmations in this movement. So I'm going to say, life meets us at our level of consciousness, right? And you're going to say, we can't give, yes, and we can't give what we don't have. Yes, and we can't give what we don't have. So I'm going to say, life meets us at our level of consciousness, and you say, yes, and we can't give what we don't have. Repeat that. We can't give what we don't have. And life really does meet us at our level of consciousness. Because if you think about where Hiroo was, what was his level of consciousness? He was just black and white, right? I'm told to do this, I'm going to do this, and that's it. And he's determined to a T, maybe a little too determined, and we can go overboard, right? So remember that saying, because I'm going to have you repeat it several times, so it gets into our, beyond our head, it gets into our system, and then we can remind each other during the week. What was it that she said? Because I don't remember. Can you remind me? All right. So I'm going to just go through really quickly the metaphysical, metaphorical interpretation of this war hero story. His struggle is very much our own because it is our humanity, that we're told to do something and it gets into our system and we make up our mind, and the grooves in our brain, this is brain science jumping in here, the grooves in our brain are so used to firing and wiring in one direction that when we know we're supposed to go somewhere else, we don't, because it's our biology. That's our humanity, right? It's our programming, and in a lot of sense, you can say it's our hard wiring. It's our hardware. So we fight battles within ourselves long after they're over. And it's elusive because we know sometimes it's like, oh, I shouldn't really fight that, but I'm going to do it anyway because it's what we're used to, and the body just goes in that same direction. So the jungle, metaphysical students, I know there are some here. What is the jungle metaphor for? What? Life, yes. Our minds, the world, yes, our minds. Whoever said that, you're right on. The jungle is a metaphor for our mind. Like, think about it. Monkey mind, jungle, like you can see all the foliage and the greenery. It's not landscaped like it is out here. We try to, right? But, it's this lush, green, prolific place. A lot of times the jungle in our mind is filled with confusion, with fears, with outdated beliefs. And that's again, it's not our spiritual nature, it's our humanity, right? So life meets us at our level of consciousness. Yes, okay, let's do it again. Yes, and yes. I love it. Okay, we can't give what we don't have. We can't give what we don't have. Life meets us at our level of consciousness, and we can't give what we don't have. Because you can only give to another, you can only be in service to another when you are aware of why and what you are doing. Otherwise, you're on autopilot. You're on autopilot. You can't, it's really difficult for our human bodies and our neocortex to overcome our biology. You've got to do certain things to do that. That's a whole different talk. So, when we are aware that we have a jungly mind, our monkey mind, we know it's there. Okay, there I go again. Then we can stop ourselves from going down that same groove in our brain, right? So the ongoing war are our inner conflicts. And I'm just going to rattle off a few, see if any of this applies to you. If no one's going through a war, talk to me after because I want to know your secret. So the inner conflicts are such: past traumas, PTSD, limiting beliefs, the need for validation and approval, childhood trauma, what I would call victim consciousness, discord, any kind of discord, divorce. I'm just naming a few, right? There's so many more. So when we're at war, in our heart, in our head, in our body, we're not at peace. We're in survival mode. We go back down to that root chakra, like, oh gosh, my sense of safety is compromised. I don't know why I'm reacting this way, but I'm going to react this way because that is the best thing that I can do right now because I can't overcome my biology. I mean, you don't say that because you don't even know it like happens in a split second, right? So, Hiroo's story illustrates how inner peace requires surrender. It requires you to surrender if you're going to have peace. What does surrendering your victim story mean? You're giving it up. You're surrendering it. The other person is no longer wrong. Right, wrong, or indifferent, it's not yours anymore. It's not my story. You're giving it up. So, refusal to surrender as resistance to peace. If you don't want to surrender, you're resisting the peace that is readily available to you. You've heard the saying, those of us who are married, we've heard the saying, do you want to be loved or do you want to be right? Do you want to be loved or do you want to be right? If you take it in that context, it's like, do you want to have peace? If you want to have peace, you've got to surrender just for your own sense of peace and safety. It doesn't even matter what they say. And I'm going to go into mirroring in a little bit so you can understand what I'm talking about. How are you guys doing? Good? Okay. All right. So the question here is peace for you? Does anybody in here not want peace? Like, if you don't, you can raise your hand, or not, you can just get up and go. It's fine. Because we're all after this thing called peace. Because we want the groundedness, the spaciousness, the open-heartedness, all the inner turmoil to go away. But in order for that to go away, we've got to take an active part in this letting go-ness, right? All right, so here's another thing. I'm going to talk about the mirror now. Has anybody here ever heard the saying, life is a mirror? Yes? What does that mean? It's a reflection back to you what? What you give out, yes. So thank you for participating. So when you wake up in the morning, you know, okay, I'm gonna brush my teeth now, fix my hair, do my makeup, and a piece of hair is out of place and I'm looking at the mirror. Does anybody in here go and fix the mirror? Right? No, we don't do that. We fix our hair because the mirror is just a reflection of whatever is standing on this side. So, why am I talking about the mirror? Because when you're in a relationship with someone and there is discord or disconnection or misunderstanding, it's probably because it's a mirror of how you're communicating and how you're relating to the other person. I know, that's so deep. It's not you, but it is, but it isn't, right? Life is a mirror. So we were talking about shadow work this morning with Reverend Eileen. I am a certified quantum living shadow coach. So that is a big part of my spiritual growth. And I have been on this journey since I was 16, when my mom passed away. So it wasn't until shadow work that I was able to reclaim pieces of myself that have been lost, abandoned, given away, or turned, neglected, basically. So shadow work is basically work where you're going to recover pieces of you that you don't understand. Like, why do I do this? Why do I do that? Why does that person irk me? So we use triggering moments as access points to look at how we are and who we are in life and how that shows up for us. So let's say I'm in dialogue with Amy, and she said something that totally triggered me. Well, I don't go to her and say, hey, you triggered me, you got to apologize, X, Y, and Z, right? Because it's a mirror, like, okay, why am I triggered? So I go and I do my work, I get clear on that, and then I realize that it was because as a child, someone had said something in that regard, and I took it as the truth when I was a child, that I didn't have the faculties or the resources to process whatever was happening back then, and I lived my entire life based on that trigger. Some of us 20 years, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, some of us 90 years, based on something that we acquired back in, 4 years old. So our entire life was lived like that. And when you come present to recovering your shadow, you're reclaiming that part of your soul that was denied. So I'm getting goosebumps as I'm sharing this with you because it's such powerful, powerful, powerful work. So why am I talking about shadow work? Because in order to gain peace, you've got to work on yourself. Peace is an inside job. We all know this, we say this, we claim this, but are we willing to do the work? There is this thing where we are in our physical age, we are whatever our physical age is. And then I've heard there's this biological age, how old your body is. And then there's this spiritual age, right? And I like to think of unity as my family because I connect. I get it. I mean, we come from all different paths, but the heart is the same. The heart is the same, and I connect. And also, I consider my brothers and sisters sort of spiritual rebels, right? Because we've outgrown some of the theology that we were in, and we're here because we still love God, and we're still good people. We want community, people who can share this life path with us. And so we're looking at our spiritual age, this unity movement of ours. Some of us can't get out of teenagehood, right? Some of us are still babies, beautiful, perfect. Some of us are elders, beautiful, perfect. But the physical body has no association with the spiritual age. Some of our souls just drop in. I mean, have you noticed the younger babies that are around your baby? They are such great spiritual teachers. My kids are my best teachers because they mirror for me what's missing that I need to recover. And I just say, thank you so much. The people who I work with, triggering, yes, it's all part of it. Thank you. I get to recover that piece of myself when the trigger happens. So next time you get into it with somebody and you get triggered, next time you drive down the street, right? Someone cuts you off and you're triggered because it was really dangerous. Just say, oh, thank you. I get to look at that and see why that triggered me anytime. So I'm going to take a breath right here because I can feel you. Life meets us at our level of consciousness. Together? You two get stars. We can't give what we don't have. We can't give what we don't have. Life meets us at our level of consciousness. Life meets us to the degree that we are aware and awake. Okay? So I guess the entire talk here is to tell you that we are spiritual beings having human experiences, not the other way around. We're not human beings having spiritual experiences. It's the other way around. That quote is directly from Teilhard de Chardin, a Jesuit priest. Imelda Shanklin, does anybody know who she is? She's an old Unity minister who's a writer. She wrote the book, What Are You? What are you? So if anyone who is actively seeking the LUT route or studying to be a Unity minister, I would say get her book because she has a really amazing way of breaking down the fact that we are spiritual beings and that we have a responsibility and obligation to be the person who God wants us to be, God within wants us to be. So our job is to open our light and to be the peace that we are. All right, so I have something here that I think you guys might enjoy, but I'm not going to do it because I'm looking at the time. I want to go and encapsulate, basically summarize this month because Reverend Eileen asked me to do that because we're talking about the power of the word, right? So peace begins with me. Peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. That's a Buddhist saying. So we did, during this month, we talked about words that aligned with peace. Words carry creative power. So we get to be impeccable with our words because the power of the spoken word can create or destroy. We can make affirmations and declarations that guide our reality, that become our truth. And then we cultivate concentration. What we focus on increases. So you want to focus on the positive, on the truth, on harmony rather than conflict and fear. And then we talked about self-mastery, which has to do with responding from our spiritual nature, not our survivalist nature. So you're mastering the spiritual side of who you are, the truth of who you are, as opposed to giving into our biology. And then you want to embrace your spiritual authority. And we know that we have the power to choose peace at any given moment. And it's up to us what we do with that, how we go about that, whether we decide to read spiritual literature or we go and do our shadow work or we just have a talk with the minister, whatever that may be. You get to think about what peace means to you. So, life meets us at our level of consciousness. Right. Okay, so I'm gonna just ask you to do something really fun. Pick a partner. Pick a partner. So find somebody next to you. Right now, it's fine. Let's go. Let's play in the sandbox. So pick a partner. Who's going to be A? One person's going to be A, and the other person's going to be B. So the person A is going to say, "Life meets me at the level of my consciousness." And then person B is going to say, "I can't give what I don't have." You guys know your lines? So A is going to say, "Life meets me at my level of consciousness." And B is going to say, "I can't give what I don't have." So go ahead and exchange that. And when you're done, look this way. Actually, when you're done, go ahead and switch. Switch. So I'm going to end today. With, I have 12. I counted them. There's a lot. I have 12 things you can do to be peace. I'm not going to share them. You guys can, I think there's an after party, right? There's an after service thing, right? We can talk about those at the after party. But I do want to invite you, we do the peace song every single week that we're here. And I know that some of us who have been attending and coming together in community for 40 years, 50, 60, 20, 10, 5, 1, it becomes rote because it's in my system. It's in your system. So I want you to look and actually listen to that word. So fill in the blank when I stop. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with you. That's right. Okay, so every time you sing your song, you're going to be conscious of it. And let's do this one more time. Life meets us at our level of consciousness. Yes! Can't give what we don't have. You all pass with straight A's.